Hello, kind travelers, and welcome to the Mischievous Mare. I am your host and weaver of tales, Vintr Bjorn. Today is a special day because my friends and I have put together for you an audio drama retelling of the myth of how Loki inadvertently was the cause of Thor getting his hammer through a little prank, and I do hope you enjoy. Now, this is an audio drama, and I've taken a few creative liberties while also trying to stay as close to the myth as possible. I myself am a Norse pagan, and I'm trying to pay respect in a fun way. So, without further ado, this is the story of how Loki's prank got Thor his hammer. It was a night like any other in Asgard, peaceful save for the snoring that could be heard coming from Thor's hold. Loki was stumbling home after a particularly heavy bout of drinking with Odin in his hall. While on his way back to his abode, Loki passed by Thor's home, and being the god of mischief that he was, he decided to sneak in and steal a lock of Lady Sif's hair as a prank. Oh, this will be so fun. I can't wait to see the look on that oaf's face. Loki went about his mischief, but in his drunken stupor he accidentally sheared off all of Sif's hair, down to the scalp. Realizing how furious Thor would be, Loki hastily made his way to the nearest window. In his hurried dash, Loki tripped. One of his slippers fell behind him, and he tumbled out the window onto the bushes below. Lucky for him, Thor's mighty snoring masked all the noise. Loki lay in the bushes and passed out. The next morning, there was an ear-piercing scream coming from Thor's hold. Thor swiftly jolted awake. He sat up and looked towards the wardrobe and saw a bald woman standing in front of his wife's mirror.
Who are you, foul witch? And what have you done with my wife?
Sif just looked at him for a moment, not surprised at her husband's aloofness, just annoyed.
It's me, Thor, you big lummox.
Thor stared a moment, realizing she was, in fact, his wife.
Sif, my darling, why did you cut off all your beautiful hair?
Sif looked at Thor with utter bewilderment.
Why would I cut off my own hair? My pride and joy, you damned fool!
Thor surveyed the bedroom and spotted a slipper just in front of the open window. He inspected it, realizing that it belonged to Loki. Thor's face twisted into an angry grimace, and it flashed red. He thrust his head out the window, looked down and saw Loki, the trickster god himself, still passed out in the bushes. Thor leaped out the window, still in his small clothes, and landed just in front of where Loki lay sleeping.
Loki!
With that mighty roar, Loki startled awake, looking at a very angry, mostly naked Thor. Fighting back his fear of the larger, much stronger god, Loki simply smiled, slyly.
Oh, good morning, Thunderer. Why all the commotion? And could you please cover up? Your manhood is staring me in the face.
This did little to quell the other god's anger, and Thor only became more annoyed as he leaned down to pick Loki up by his throat. Thor lifted the god of tricksters to eye level and began to tighten his grip.
Loki, before I squeeze the life out of you, what do you have to say for yourself?
Wait. I can fix it. I can make it up to you both.
I'm listening.
It better be good, Loki, or I will make sure that Thor breaks every bone in your body. Slowly.
Thor, chuckling a bit at this thought, loosened his grip on Loki's throat. Loki began to scheme, and once his plan was hatched, he gave a mischievous grin.
Thor, my good friend, the dwarves are artisans of great skill in the craft of magical items. It would be a trifle for them to make a new head of enchanted hair for Lady Sif. Why, I am sure that her beauty would rival that of Freyr.
Thor seemed to revel in that notion, but still held Loki by his neck.
If you try to worm your way out of this, Loki, well, let's just say, I rather enjoyed my Lady Sif's idea, and I would relish every minute of it.
With that image in his mind, Loki made his way to Svartalfheim, the realm of the dwarves. Svartalfheim was a land rich in minerals, and the landscape was covered in mines. Loki arrived in the capital of Nidavellir, a sprawling city built into the side of a massive mountain, and began to hatch the rest of his scheme.
Now I just need to find a way to entice some smiths to help me.
Loki made his way to the workshop of the sons of Ivaldi, two dwarves known throughout the 9 realms as the greatest craftsmen. As Loki entered the shop, he heard the sounds of hammers on steel and the roaring of furnaces.
Hail, sons of Ivaldi! I have a commission for you from the great Thor himself.
The two dwarves immediately stopped their work and ran to Loki, excited at the prospect of making an item for Asgard's mightiest protector.
What would Thor, the mightiest of gods, have us crafting?
Ah, it must be a weapon, aye. Perhaps a mighty axe, or a great sword.
Now, nothing so grand as battle implements, but it is of equal import.
Then what does the mighty Thor require of us?
Due to the actions of an unknown culprit, Lady Sif has lost all of her hair, and Thor requires an enchanted wig for her, something to grant her beauty rivaling that of Freyr.
A wig?
Did you not hear? Not just any wig, but a wig to make Sif's beauty rival that of Freyr.
The two dwarves sighed, but accepted Loki's request and fired up the furnaces. They couldn't well turn down a commission from Thor, after all.
How are we supposed to prove ourselves better smiths than Brok and Aeitry, making a measly wig?
Brok and Aeitry?
Sons of Ivaldi looked at Loki, not believing that he had not heard of the rival smiths.
Aye, Brok and Aeitry are a pair of upstarts that claim they're better artisans than us.
Loki, always the schemer, began to hatch a new plan upon hearing this very interesting piece of information. Maybe there was a way for him to not only make amends with Thor, but also impress the rest of the gods as well.
Sons of Ivaldi, I propose a challenge between yourselves, Brok and Aeitry. Each pair will make 3 gifts worthy of the gods, and they shall judge who made the superior offering.
The sons of Ivaldi considered the proposal and agreed. Anything for them to be able to prove that they are better. With that, Loki set out to find Brok and Aeitry. He found the brothers' shop easily enough. They were as famous as the sons of Ivaldi, maybe even more so. Upon entering the shop, Loki was met by an impressive dwarf, brimming with confidence.
Hail, traveller. What brings you to our humble workshop?
You are too modest, my friend. The streets are abuzz with praises for Brok and Aetry's masterful craftsmanship.
Aye, we are the best smiths in Svartalfheim. But we didn't like to brag. We'll leave that to the sons of Ivaldi.
They do love to talk, don't they? In fact, they are the reason I'm here today.
Oh, and why would that be?
I am Loki of Asgard. The gods have decided to have a competition between you and the sons of Ivaldi to determine who is the most skilled craftsman in all the 9 realms.
Brok and Aeitry just looked at one another and laughed. This puzzled and annoyed Loki.
What's so funny?
Unlike the sons of Ivaldi, we've no desire to prove ourselves.
Aye, our wares speak for themselves.
Loki was growing more annoyed that these two dwarves were not so easily goaded.
That may be, But the sons of Ivaldi have entered this contest, and if you don't, then they will have all the recognition of Asgard.
We seek not fame or renown. We only seek to make the best wares and hone our craft.
That's all well and good, but reputation is everything, and I bet you my head that you couldn't make finer gifts for the gods than the sons of Ivaldi.
Brok perked up at the notion of that wager.
I've never had the head of a god before. Could make an interesting artifact with that. You have yourself a wager, Loki.
Loki was stunned. What had he gotten himself into? Brok and Aeitry got to work, and to Loki's surprise, they were fast, efficient, and more than anything, they were amazingly skilled. With the first artifact finished, Loki started to worry that he may lose his head indeed. In just a few days, the brothers had finished 2 of the 3 gifts for the gods, and Loki was growing more and more concerned about if his head would stay on his shoulders. He overheard the brothers talking about the last gift they would make.
Now, Brok, you need to stay steady on the bellows. The temperature needs to stay high and constant. If not, our work will be ruined.
This gave Loki a mischievous idea. He turned himself into a wasp and waited for the brothers to begin their work.
Are you ready, Brok?
Aye, Aeitry.
The brothers began their work, Brok giving the bellows all his attention, and Aeitry working the forge. The wasp that was Loki flew down and began to buzz around Brok, but he kept his concentration on task. Loki started to fly around the dwarf's eyes, which caused Brok to swat at him, but he kept the bellows steady.
It's almost done, Brok. Just a little longer.
Loki was running out of time. As a last resort, he flew into Brok's eyes and started to sting him. This finally broke his concentration, and just for a moment, Brok let go of the bellows.
No! The handle! It's broken!
I'm sorry, brother. Is there no way to fix it?
It's a little short, but still functional. It'll have to do. We don't have time to make another.
Loki was satisfied with his mischief and left to return to Asgard. The day of the competition came, and among the gods present for the judging was Odin, Freyr, Thor, Sif, and Loki. Thor walked up to Loki and leaned down to whisper in his ear.
This better be worth it, trickster. Because if my Sif's beauty is not restored, then I will personally see to your punishment.
Fear not, Thor. Not only will Sif have her hair restored, but you and the other judges will have fantastic gifts.
The first to present their gifts were the sons of Ivaldi.
Our first gift to present is for the Lady Sif.
They presented a beautiful wig of golden hair to Sif.
It's gorgeous and it shines so bright.
It is an enchanted golden weave that feels like hair, but shines like gold, and when you put it on your head, it'll bond to your scalp and become your hair.
This is amazing. You have truly created a marvelous gift. Many thanks to you.
Odin put his hand on Freyr's shoulder.
Aye, our dear Sif's beauty is now on par with that of your sister. Eh, Freyr?
Don't let her catch you saying that, old father, lest she sick her cats on you.
The next gift presented was for Freyr. It was a ship called Skithblathnir.
This ship is a marvel, my dwarven friends, but how am I to transport it to the sea?
'Tis simple.
The son of Ivaldi began to fold the ship until it was small enough to fit in a pocket.
The enchantment on Skithblathnir allows you to fit it in your pocket and carry it wherever you need. Amazing.
I am jealous, Freyr. Not even I have such a vessel.
You do me great honour with such a gift, sons of Ivaldi.
Now the third and final gift from the sons of Ivaldi was for the Allfather himself.
To you, all wise and powerful Odin, we have the spear called Gungnir.
The dwarves handed the magnificently crafted spear to the Allfather.
This is an impressive weapon.
and I notice that there are runes written on the blade and shaft. What enchantments do they hold?
Well done for noticing, Lord Odin, but as is to be expected of the wisest god of Asgard, there are 3 enchantments on Gungnir. The first is when throwing, the spear will always hit its target. The second is the spear will always return to its master. And third and final enchantment, any oath sworn on the spear cannot be broken.
A most appropriate weapon for the King of Asgard, don't you think?
Aye, this is a most worthy gift. You have my gratitude, sons of Ivaldi. And with that, Loki was almost certain that Brok and Aeitry had no chance of winning this competition. Nonetheless, Brok and Aeitry approached with their gifts, the first of which was given to Freyr. They presented to the shining god a massive boar whose bristles shone with a golden light.
This is the boar, Golan Bursty. He is swifter than any horse and can travel through air and water, just as he would on land, and his golden bristles shine in even the darkest of places. So you shall always have light. Words cannot describe. He is the most fantastic beast I have ever seen, and if he does all that you say, he will make an incredible mount and hunting companion.
Aye, 'tis truly an amazing creature. Why, he even puts my rams Tangrisnia and Tongiasta to shame.
Pleased with this praise, the brothers presented their next gift, this one being for the king of Asgard. Brok gave Odin a golden ring.
A mere golden ring? 'Tis hardly a unique gift.
That would be true if this were an ordinary ring. But this ring is called Dropnir, and every 9 nights, 8 identical rings will drop from this one.
A most worthy and pragmatic gift. They can be used to greatly increase Asgard's wealth, or used as badges of office for my most loyal comrades. It was time for the brothers to present their final gift. Both Brok and Aeitry approached Thor, each carrying one side of their gift, and struggling at that. They unveiled their gift, a beautiful and massive hammer covered in ornate runes.
This hammer is magnificent, but the handle seems a bit short. Will it not be unwieldy?
Yes. We ran into a bit of trouble while working in the forge. A wasp flew in and stung my brother's eye while he was working in the bellows. The handle snapped, so now it can only be wielded with one hand.
But fear not, Thor, for one whose strength is as immense as yours should have no trouble swinging such a hammer. Its name is Mjolnir, and it's made of the strongest steel. It'll never break, and when thrown, it'll always strike true. Mjolnir is also enchanted to always return to its wielder when thrown, and finally, it controls the power of the storm.
Thor grabbed the hammer with enthusiasm, imagining all the ways he could use it to protect Asgard and slay giants.
This is a splendid gift, brother dwarfs. Why, I could slay an army of giants with such a weapon. You said its name's Mjolnir, yes? A fine name for a fine weapon.
You do us great honour, Thor.
Yes, it's very powerful. But how will you swing it if the handle is too short?
Thor effortlessly started swinging Mjolnir, like it was second nature to him. Well, that settles that. Odin seemed to have made up his mind as to which pair of smiths won this challenge. Loki was immediately thinking of how to get out of his deal with Brok, just in case. Everyone gathered around Odin to hear his final judgment. First, I wish to offer Brok, Aeitry, and the sons of Ivaldi my sincere and immense thanks for these splendid gifts. Both pairs showed incredible skill and craftsmanship in their art, but only one can be declared the winner. Those winners are Brok and Aeitry, for not only magnificently ornate craftsmanship, but also a most important and powerful weapon to help fight off the enemies of Asgard. With that, all the gods cheered and congratulated Brok and Aeitry. All But Loki, who was still thinking of how to keep his head, Brok and Odin approached him.
Well, a deal is a deal, is it not, Loki? I'm looking forward to finding a use for the head of a god.
Loki scrambled his brain to think of a solution. Then suddenly,
Yes, Brok, a deal is a deal. You may have my head, but only if you can cut it off without damaging my neck. You see, my neck was not part of the deal.
Brok looked at his knife, then up at Odin, who was stroking his beard.
How am I supposed to cut off his head without damaging his neck?
One must always be wary of making deals with the god of lies. His silver tongue always finds a loophole to worm his way out.
What can I say? It's in my nature.
Brok was not satisfied, so he whispered something in Odin's ear. Odin nodded, and then Brok pulled a magic needle and thread from his pouch. He then began to sew Loki's mouth shut. Try as he might, Loki could not tear the thread.
That ought to keep you from tricking anyone else for a while.
So ends the tale of how the prank of one god of mischief led to the greatest gifts that the gods of Asgard have ever received. As for how Loki got the threads off, well, that is a story for another day. Well, kind travelers, I do hope you enjoyed that audio drama. Again, I am Vintr Bjorn. All my friends that helped with the vocals for this will be in the description below. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you want more of this, because it was a blast to put together. And as always, safe travels